Guess what, black people? Bill O'Reilly from Fox News knows you. And he knows what you need. And he knows what you've been through. And he knows exactly how you're supposed to react to everything. Yes! You are gonna love having a white guy make all your decisions for you. I swear by it. It's so comfortable. Telling black people exactly how angry they're allowed to be is one of Bill O'Reilly's pastimes. 'Cause he's so darn good at it. Let's take a look at about a week ago on the O'Reilly Factor, where in honor of Black History Month, Bill O'Reilly took a very carefully considered shit on black history. Take a gand!
And we went out there as students to really learn the history, to chronicle it, to understand what's going on. You're probably familiar with the May Day event that took place back in the 70s at Yale. And Yale has a long history of activism. So we went as student archivists to go out and learn the information about the school.
Did you come away with a favorable impression of the Black Panther movement?
Oh, absolutely. They were so resilient.
Let me have you react to a soundbite that we have from Stokely Carmichael, who is associated with the Panthers. Roll it.
Okay.
We have to recognize who our major enemy is. The major enemy is not your brother, flesh of your flesh and blood of your blood. The major enemy is the hunky and his institutions of racism. That's the major enemy.
The hunky is the white man, based on a pig reference. And you must know that Alex Rackley, who was a Black Panther in New Haven, was murdered there, allegedly by other Black Panthers, and that was back in 1969. And there's a long legacy of violence associated with even the new Black Panthers today. So how can you look favorably upon that group?
Well, there's a long history of racism in this country, and so I think we can all agree that racism exists in this country.
But I think maybe the Black Panthers are part of that racism with their anti-white bent.
Well, the Black Panthers, actually, it wasn't about anti-white. It was pro-black. It was about them making sure that they provided for their community. There were food programs.
Hunkies.
There were health care programs. The language and the rhetoric is, you know, your choice. We're not using that language and rhetoric now. They certainly were not using that rhetoric at the conference.
It makes me a little...
There's racism.
It makes me a little uneasy that a very intelligent woman like yourself could even think that these people were worthy of being considered in Black History Month. Because they're not that much different than the Ku Klux Klan. They're not.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, they're not. If you look at the history...
That's interesting.
It is. If you look at the history and all the shootings...
Well, share the history with me that you're referring to and how you pair the two.
Well, if you look at the history of the Black Panthers and all the shootings, all the violence, police officers killed, all the rhetoric, which is just over-the-top anti-white, and you compare it to the violence and anti-black rhetoric of the KKK, there's not a lot of difference.
Exactly. I mean, it's like KKK, Black Panthers, like tomato, you know, they're like almost the same, you know. Sometimes like when I mean to say KKK, I accidentally say Black Panthers and vice versa. They're just like so similar, you know. They're like the odd couple. They're like cops in a buddy cop movie, you know. They're just like always like butting heads with each other and like bickering, and then finally at the end of the movie they're just like, oh my gosh, like we fought this whole time but we're just like actually best friends now because we have so much in common, you know. They're just like so similar, you know. Oh, they should make a sitcom. The Black Panthers and the KKK, they try to be best friends but they're always getting into mischief. They have so much in common, you know. Like, for example, they were both born in the 60s. For the Black Panthers, of course, that's the 1960s. For the KKK, that's the 1860s. Billy O'Reilly just overlook it, and that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that one basically birthed and completely fueled the other. Just sweep it under the rug. It won't look good for your TV show. It's okay. But guess what, my black sisters and brothers? it doesn't end there.
And as we reported last night, even embracing radical anti-police groups like Black Lives Matter. Remember, the Black Lives Matter leadership has never disavowed the violent anti-cop rhetoric we hear all the time.
They're trying to make sure that everyone is treated equally, because when someone's shot dead because of their race, we all suffer.
Or you have the NAACP, and we have a number of other African-American groups designed to do that in a peaceful way. So, I mean, if you don't think Black Lives Matter is radical, I mean, you must know they're radical, right?
Well, Bill, I think some people in it are, but I don't think the purpose in the
leadership is radical. And then you see the president on it. No one disputes that African-Americans in general have a harder road in America.
Some people do.
Well, nobody who is taken seriously. Okay? Nobody disputes that. It's how you get there. But I think you both are, you see, I think your definition of radical is different from mine, and that might be the problem. Black Panther Party radical, Mr. Williams?
Radicalism scares me as a word. This country is founded on radicalism.
In your opinion, is the Black Panther Party?
Yes, but the country was founded on radicalism. We've kind of changed.
All right, so you justify the radicalism then. You think it's okay to say dead cops now?
No.
Let's kill the police.
No.
So that's what we're talking about.
You're labeling everything bad as radical. Radical is not a bad word.
I don't think radicalism that espouses violence is a positive thing.
But you can't make substantive change without being radical in this entire country.
But you can be responsibly, if you want to use the word radical, you can do it in response. You know the primary victims of gun violence?
Well, this is the problem.
African Americans.
You just said the key problem. The key problem is we cannot fix this problem focusing just on law enforcement.
And I will tell you this, because I believe you're sincere. I believe you're both sincere. You'll never fix the problem unless you put it in a way that the majority of Americans will accept. If you're radical, you're not going to get anywhere. Black Panthers got nowhere.
Actually, they did.
Okay? No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
All right, that was a good debate.
William Theodore O'Reilly. I don't even know if that's your middle name, but it should be. Are you really going to look at the fact that the blacks in the 60s, civil liberties were violated on a daily basis, and look at the fact that some cops then and now are killing black children, and say, well, I know that it's bad, but I don't know if it's bad. I don't know if it's bad enough to go all apeshit crazy over. Are you serious? Do you think that you're entitled to go there? What kind of a godlike deity do you have to see yourself as in order to believe that you have the remote, bizarre ability to be able to micromanage and judge the reaction of those folks who have the God-given First Amendment right to express themselves, to be disgusted by the fact that they are American history's most continuous victim? Why do you expect blacks to be the one group that has to be PC? Yeah, they're pissed. And when they're pissed, they're not going to say nice things to you, Bill O'Reilly. Black people are not your black china dolls that you get to take and place on your kitchen mantle and fold their hands one over the next on their laps and make them say, "Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Well, there's some real fucked up shit going on, sir. But I'll still be nice and peaceful for you, sir, just like how it's good enough for you." They're angry. And angry isn't nice. I'm sorry that it's not PC enough for you, Bill. Bill O'Reilly. More like Bill O, really? Sorry, I won't do that again. You know what bothers me the most about Bill O'Reilly and the people who support him? It's not just the fact that you have this sense that you have a deity-esque judgment that allows you to be able to micromanage how people react to institutionalized racism, hatred, abuse, and ultimately murder. It's the fact that if it was you would do the exact same thing. Bill O'Reilly, if you were a black person in the 60s, you'd be a Black Panther. And you know how I know that? Anybody who touts the Second Amendment does so with the exact same philosophy. Anybody who believes in the right to bear arms does so with the belief that people have a basic right to protect themselves against tyranny, against an overreaching government, just like these people. Bill O'Reilly, let's hear from you. Let's look at your words when this whole thing is okay when you do it.
And you're not going to change the Second Amendment. I have a right to protect myself. All right? Because there are crazed animals like the guy in Oregon. There are people like that who will come after innocent people for no reason. And you're going to deny me protection if I live out in a rural area like Douglas County, Oregon, where the nearest cop is 40 miles away? I can't have a gun in the house to protect my family? Come on.
I mean, come on. Come on. I mean, come on. It's just so obvious. Come on, come on. You know what, Bill? What's good for your gooseneck is good for the gander. Why in God's fresh hell would you ever consider holding disenfranchised blacks from the 60s to a higher standard than you hold yourself? Why would you ever think that that is appropriate, just, or moral? But you know what I truly love about Bill O'Reilly? He hangs himself. It makes it so much easier for the rest of us. Go ahead, Bill.
This is why we have all the guns. Because of the Revolutionary War, because of the rebellion. And that's why the British lost. Because all the colonists had guns. And everywhere the British redcoats went, they were getting popped by all of the regular farmers and merchants who all had guns because they had to protect themselves from not only the British but Indians. There wasn't enough law to protect them when they were out of the cities.
The local militia.
And that's why we have all the guns here, because that kind of forging the West, that you had to have a sidearm to survive,
right.
All right? And the government said, yeah, we can't help you. You have to do it yourself.
Yes. You know who else saw themselves in a Revolutionary War? The Black Panthers. They used that exact phrase. And who are you? And by you I mean Bill O'Reilly or anybody who believes the shit that he says. Who are you to tell them that they are erroneous in having seen things that way, when you will never even be close and have never been close to that same position? And you should be thanking God for that and then shutting the hell up. Furthermore, you do not get Black history. You may know Black history, but you don't get it if you can't include the real human suffering and real human struggle and real human murder that it takes to get through that portion of our history and into modern day. Think about what they were up against and what they're still up against. It makes people snap. It's not surprising that Black Lives Matter says radical things. It makes great people say horrible things. That is called human nature. That is called resilience. That is called rebellion. That is called being called to an order of higher justice. That is called the American fucking spirit. It's like Bill O'Reilly expects that somebody who gets brutally punched in the face falls over and then gets back up and says, "I'm sorry, please don't do that to me again." And then he himself expects the right to be able to punch somebody who punches him in the face. In conclusion, why, Bill O'Reilly and all of your followers, what is your why? Bill O'Reilly, why do you discount the humanistic struggle of Black history and discard it so simply? I mean, that factor alone answers every single one of your criticisms about Black Lives Matter and the Black Panthers. They struggled and they hurt and they're pissed off, and so they're going over the top. How can you blame them? How can't you understand that? Why don't you understand that? It's only one of two reasons. One, you're unable because you don't understand it. Or two, you're unwilling. If you're just unable, that I can understand. That's just a matter of you being buried in a huge mountain of white privilege coupled with success to the point where you're unable to see things from that worldview, even though that worldview is very real. And I would rather believe that. I would rather believe that you're just a product of having horse blinders on your turkey neck, because the alternative is that you are unwilling. And if you are in fact unwilling, that means that you have some kind of a black, burbling, boiling liquid frothing around in your old man gut against blacks. And you chose Black History Month as an opportunity to stick it to them with that first clip in this video. Because you could have chosen your airtime to cover Black History Month in any way you could have wanted to, but you chose to use it to point out what's ugly about it. And the fact that you did that highly suggests the latter, that you are unwilling. But instead, I will afford you the basic human dignity and human faith in the benefit of the doubt, something that you yourself and your followers apparently cannot afford advocates of Black rights, and say that it was probably that you were just unable. This month for Black History Month, can we just think of the following? How long in America is it going to take for white elites to just give blacks a little bit of slack? Just a little fucking bit of rope. I don't know how much longer we can go down this path. I don't know how much longer I am able to live in this world until that can happen. Can we just give our brothers and sisters a little bit of slack?